What's going on, everyone, and welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer St. Louis Cardinals Writer channel. I had to jump on here for a quick video after the post on social media that I saw this morning that comes from MLB Network's Mark DeRosa. They had a segment on MLB Network where DeRo, former Cardinal, obviously went through a number of trade concepts that he thought would be interesting as we sit here just about 30 hours away from the MLB trade deadline. And there was one involving the Cardinals that I think is just out of this world foolish, and it's not realistic. I want to start off the top that this is not going to happen. I think Mark DeRosa is a little bit out of his mind with this one. I also have an explanation, or I can at least give a guess as to why I think he thinks this could be realistic for the Cardinals, but I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. Mark DeRosa's hypothetical trade proposal. Cardinals receive Erick Fedde from the White Sox. The White Sox receive Jordan Walker from the Cardinals. That's the hypothetical proposal that was thrown out there on MLB Network today by Mark DeRosa. I also like that the graphic has outfielder / third baseman Jordan Walker. Here's my guess as to why DeRo thinks this is anything other than pie in the sky craziness that the Cardinals would be willing to give up Jordan Walker for Erick Fedde. And I'm not saying this from having any insider knowledge. Like, this is not a report that I'm sharing and saying the Cardinals have, sources say the Cardinals aren't going to trade Walker for. That's not what this is. I'm just saying this because I have a brain, and I don't think that this proposal is anything close to reality. I understand that Jordan Walker has struggled mightily this season, but even if the Cardinals were very skeptical about his ultimate potential, and that, let's say, 2024 has really soured the team on thinking that Walker is going to make it and turn out to be the big league player that we all thought he was going to be based on his prospect status and based on last season what he did. Even if that was the case, I do not envision the Cardinals unloading Jordan Walker for Erick Fedde for a year and a half, not even, of Erick Fedde, a guy who was in Korea a year ago, pitched really well, earned himself an opportunity to get a big league contract, a multi-year deal back stateside, and the Cardinals could have grabbed him in the offseason if they really wanted him that badly. Yes, he's cost-controlled for next season, only $7.5 million. The Cardinals are interested, according to many reports, in Erick Fedde. Ari Alexander sharing the three-team concept that would involve the Dodgers, with Tommy Edman going to L.A., Fedde potentially coming to the Cardinals from Chicago, and then, figuring out from there what other pieces could round out that deal is at least somewhat of an intriguing concept. But if we're talking about Jordan Walker, I think that's a completely different level. Here's what I think. Here's my guess. I'm going to do a little speculation, and you tell me if this makes sense. I have seen plenty of video and clips from MLB Network shows this season, and DeRo has been one of the guys talking about this, that at that studio, in that building, there are a lot of former MLB players who I think are going around offset behind the scenes as those guys are just hanging out throughout their workday. And, they're talking baseball, right? But when the Cardinals come up and when that topic is brought to the table, I feel like they are talking the Cardinal front office a lot, the guys in that building, because they see the Jordan Walker situation. They see his numbers in AAA right now, and I think there is a sentiment at MLB Network, and this is not just like total out of the blue, because Mark DeRosa, I believe it was DeRo. If it was somebody else that had said this a few weeks ago, I saw a clip where basically it was kind of saying, I don't necessarily subscribe to what my colleagues are saying, but a lot of guys in this building who have played the game at a high level, they tend to think that the Cardinals might have kind of ruined Jordan Walker. They're bungling his situation by focusing on and telling him, hey, you need to be able to hit the ball in the air. You need to do this that you're not doing, and kind of making him overthink his just natural ability to play the game. And while there may be some level of truth to that the Cardinals are trying to get Jordan Walker to do things that maybe doesn't come inherent to him, rather than just going out there, letting him be himself and learning as he goes as a 21, 22-year-old baseball player, the things that can make him successful at the highest level. Have the Cardinals maybe been a little too hands-on in trying to get in his head about changing this or that about his swing? You can debate that if you want. But my belief is that the sentiment at MLB Network, where DeRo spends his days, is so strong that is the case, that the brainworms have sort of infiltrated for Mark DeRosa, and look, I like DeRo. I think he does a really nice job in most cases. I just think he's off base on this one. I do not see any scenario in which the Cardinals would trade Jordan Walker with Erick Fedde as the primary piece coming back. Josh Jacobs put out a poll that involved Jordan Walker in the 3-team concept, but the Cardinals also would have been getting Bobby Miller in that. Like, I don't know if I do that for sure, but I think it's interesting. Erick Fedde as the name coming back for Jordan Walker in a 1-for-1 is just not at all something that I would consider happening. And look, if it happens later on today, you'll catch me doing a video tonight saying, "Yep, I was wrong. DeRo nailed it." I don't anticipate that that's going to have to be something that I do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, Cardinals fans, because look, Jordan Walker has a 6-something OPS at AAA right now. Erick Fedde has a sub-3 ERA as a starter in the big leagues, and he's cost-controlled for next season. We have seen Cardinals prospects before that had a lot of promise and a lot of potential turn out to not maybe make good on all of that promise and hope. Dylan Carlson, probably the most recent example, where right now we're basically the sentiment surrounding him is if the Cardinals could just trade him away to a fresh start, it almost doesn't matter what they get back for him. That's kind of where I stand on Dylan, because I just don't see him recouping value in this organization. It feels like that ship has sailed. I'm not even trying to place blame on whose fault that is. I just think that's the reality of the situation at this point. And so for me, that's what I would hope to see happen, is that Dylan go to a non-contender where he could kind of spread his wings, get an opportunity to get some runway where he doesn't have to be looking over his shoulder every time he plays. And look, this is the big league, so you do have to produce. Like I said, I'm not trying to assign blame on the Cardinals for that. At the end of the day, Dylan Carlson has had chances in St. Louis, and he hasn't made good on them. And that's unfortunate, because I do think there's talent within him that he showed in 2021, his rookie season with a 780 OPS. But that was a guy who you had a lot of hope for, who that hope has fizzled to the extent that now you probably get very little for him in return if you decide to trade him today. And if you hold on to him, you may end up seeing that value go to absolute zero in the weeks and months and years ahead. So that's happened before, right? You look at off seasons past when you think about Nolan Gorman, and wow, this guy could be 40 home run hitter and just a super stud from the left side and gives you pretty solid defense at second base. Maybe he could still turn into that, but there have been holes in the swing and holes in his game that have been maybe not exposed because we knew about him before, but that have been exacerbated, I think, this year, where you're like, wow, another year of MLB play. What is Nolan Gorman at this level? Has he, lost some of the trade value that he might have had? Are you holding a guy that can help your team win for sure, but maybe doesn't have the sizzle in terms of trade talks that he might have at a previous point in his career with the Cardinals? Jordan Walker could very well be the next in line there. And the Cardinals could be looking back in a couple of years going, oh, man, there was a moment in time where we could have gotten the most for Jordan Walker. The reason it doesn't make sense to go ahead and trade him for Fedde today is because that's already a pretty big depletion to his value. It's not like Fedde is cost-controlled for 4 years. It's one more season of $7.5 million Erick Fedde, who, by the way, is not a big strikeout guy anyway. Performing very well, and I think he could be a nice guy to fit in with what the Cardinals are trying to do. They have a good defense behind their starters, and I think Mason Wynn contributes to that. Arenado contributes to that. Michael Ciani contributes to that. Paul Goldschmidt, certainly for as long as he's around, contributes to that. But I don't necessarily think you're comparing apples to apples if you're saying, oh, yeah, we're going to unload Jordan Walker because we just don't believe in him anymore, and we're going to trade him for a guy who was in Korea last year that we could have had in the offseason if we had really wanted to stand down and go grab him. So with all of that being said, I just don't think this is a realistic move. I do not see any world in which the Cardinals do it. Could we look back in a year if Jordan Walker continues down the current trend that he's on and he doesn't end up panning out at the big league level, and then we would say, oh, maybe you should have taken Erick Fedde for him? Sure, but I think with the potential that still resides within Jordan Walker, I'm on the Cardinals' side with this. I wouldn't trade him either for Erick Fedde. Am I saying Jordan Walker is untouchable? No. I'm saying in the context of this particular proposal, it doesn't fit. And when you think about what the rest of the league might be trying to do to the Cardinals as it pertains to Jordan Walker, they're saying what we're saying. It's like, oh, guys was good at the big league level last year, not playing now. Even he's struggling in Memphis and AAA. What's going on there? Could we swoop in and potentially get this guy on the cheap? If that's the attitude that everybody else has about the guy who was your top prospect a year ago, you might just have to go down with the ship if the ship ends up sinking. I'm not suggesting it will for Jordan Walker, but if you're the Cardinals, this would be a moment where I do think it's okay to be stubborn unless you're getting somebody back that has maybe a similar scenario going on. Like Bobby Miller has an elite arm that he hasn't been able to, turn into anything at the big league level just yet, other than that one time he faced the Cardinals when he was like untouchable at the beginning of the year. But that's a guy who you go, hey, I could see swapping for somebody like him potentially. I'm not saying I'd do it or wouldn't do it, but at least it would be within the realm of consideration compared to going Erick Fedde. Again, he might be a Cardinal in 2 days. I'm not trying to poo-poo Erick Fedde, but in the context of this, I think Mark DeRosa is off the mark. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and make sure to subscribe to this channel if you enjoy Cardinals content, Cardinals talk, and Cardinals coverage on a daily basis throughout the season and throughout the offseason. This is the kind of stuff that we really can get into in the months like November, December, January, as it's kind of all there is in the baseball offseason. I'll throw it up on the screen one more time. Mark DeRosa's hypothetical trade proposal, according to MLB Network from earlier today, Fedde for Jordan Walker. I'm a big no on that, and I know that the Cardinals will be too. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Hit subscribe on the channel, and we'll see you next time on the Brenden Schaeffer St. Louis Cardinals Writer channel. Peace.